I've heard you say that the hands, a lot of golfers will just throw the hands at the ball.
Right.
Hands and club head are both go in the same spot.
Yeah.
And I've heard you say, no, the club head goes to the ball, the hands go here.
Inside.
How do we direct two things simultaneously?
Okay. So let's take it from here and let's go up here to baseball. Now we could do this with a baseball bat. I can do it with a golf club. All right, so all of a sudden now I'm going to swing and I'm going to hit that ball off that tee.
Yeah.
Okay, well if my hands go, like in baseball, if my hands went at the ball, what would the ball hit? Well, it would hit my hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you hit a baseball, you have to learn to swing your hands inside the ball enough to get the head of the bat to hit the ball. So your hands have to swing inside the ball for the club head to hit the ball.
I've seen long drive, trick shot shows, everyone hits the shaft about there.
Well, that's a lot of that's because of
their ideas.
Yeah, it's the bad concepts again.
Yeah.
But so now I come down to the golf ball here, my hands are in here.
Yeah.
So when I go up to the top of my swing, my hands have got to come back down to where they started so the club head could run into the ball. If my hands move up and out, which most people from here, their hands move at the ball.
Which is so much focus is right here.
So they're trying to hit the ball with their hands. Well, you don't hit it with your hands, you hit it with the club head. So your hands are swinging on a different circle than the club head is.
It is, yeah.
It is on a baseball bat, it is on a tennis racket, it is on a ping pong paddle, it is on a hockey stick. So when you say, how do you train your hands to move? Well, it's starting to learn and making little swings. I used to spend hours where I would stand there and I would just make my hands come right back to where they started.
Yeah.
Because I heard Johnny Miller say that one of the things, and one of the only things he worked on most of his entire career was Gertson had him set up. He says, okay, just get your hands to come right back where they started.
He used to do something in a door frame like that.
Yes.
Kinda. Yeah.
And then he would stand there and he'd say, okay, now I got my hands coming back to where they started. Now he'd run the club into the ball doing that. And that was what he practiced, because if he could get his hands back to where they started or back to impact, then he felt like if that was his task, his body would do whatever it had to do to create that or not to get in the way of it. What I see most people do is they're not focused on getting the club back on the ball. They're focused on making their body do something, hoping the club shows up.
So is your mind in your hands or in the club head? If you really think about in your transition, in that first part that you can really put motor control into, are you?
Mine's in my hands. I feel it in my hands. My hands is the face.
Yeah.
And I've practiced it enough to know where my hands have to track to run the club into the ball.
So you know, if my hands are here, without a doubt, the club face will be here. So let's just get the hands.
And my brain, because I've done it, understands the task that it's not about taking my hands at the ball. Because if my hands from here go at the ball, then the only way I'm going to be able to hit it is I'm going to have to really spin out of the way to somehow get the club back on the ball. If my hands come inside the ball, the club can work out to the ball to hit it.
Yeah.
You know, so I've trained it, so my brain understands the task and it understands the feel of the club head into the ball.
Mm-hmm.
My body knows how to move so it doesn't get in its way. So most all sports are about hands and club face control. Is your body involved? Yes, it is involved. But you better make sure that it doesn't get involved where it gets in the way of what your hands and arms are going to do.
All right, into some of the viewer questions. My Instagram is bb_golf show. Mike's Instagram is @MalaskaGolf. And sign up for both of ours. On Instagram, I put out, hey, I'm going to see Malaska. What would you guys like to ask him? One question from our viewer is, he saw your video on it's kind of like become the modern release, less like this and more like this.
Yeah.
You see Dustin Johnson with his
Right.
irons, and a lot of good players are more giving it, I call it this kind of spanking release.
Yeah.
He says he has limited mobility this ways.
Okay.
So what would be some options for him? His wrists are very stiff and just don't really do that.
Well, you have the rotation of your arms as one speed producer, and then the levers in your wrists is another speed producer, and how your body moves is another one. So you've got 3 speed producers. He's limited into this type of motion in his wrists. That's not one of the major speed producers. I mean, so he doesn't necessarily, I guess he could he could make sure that he has his arms rotating. But just because your arms are rotating doesn't mean that your forearms and your wrists have to twist.
Yeah.
See, when I started playing, and really where I think golf is, when I started, I was a baseball player. So when you hit a baseball, what do your forearms do when you hit a baseball? Well, your hands go like this, and you let the bat go. This is how most baseball players hit it. They go like that. Okay, so there's very little.
You don't really see when I'm thinking. I work in the baseball industry, and you don't see a lot of guys.
None of them do.
None of them. I do see a lot of golf swings like that, though.
Yeah. Okay. That's too much forearm rotation.
Right. Yeah.
So when I came to golf, I had a baseball swing. In fact, when I first started, I would hit the ball and I'd let the club go with just like I did my baseball bat. So I was so used to hitting a ball like this, where if I did hold on, the bat went like that, and most of the time I let the bat go, so my forearms work this way. So my hands worked like this.
Yeah.
My arms rotated, but my forearms didn't twist.
So your playing partners probably thought you would mishit it, and then they'd look up and they'd see it fine, and you were like, no, it's fine.
Now my grip was relative to golf terminology was fairly strong, so when I did that, the face stayed square, which is where my grip is back to now, which is neutral for me. But so when you come into the ball and you hit the ball, all of this old hold the angle and then touch your forearms, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, my arms, when I hit the ball, I come into the ball and I hit the ball, and then the weight of the club, and I'm pushing away so my legs do what everybody wants them to do, and then I'm here, and when I go over here, my hands work this way. They don't go like that. That's an abnormal amount of face rotation that you're having to time. You don't need all that face rotation.
But you're saying our viewer, they can't really do this. It means he doesn't necessarily have to replace this with a bunch of this.
No.
He said, just because you can't do it, just let it go straight and get speed from other spots.
Let it do what it wants to do.
Yeah, don't manipulate it over this way just because you can't do this.
You don't want the club. If you look at a club face coming into the ball, when it's coming down, if you could have it be the most efficient relative to your swing arc, when the club face gets right about here, it would be at a 90-degree angle to your swing arc. And it would come into the ball and it would hit the ball, and over here it would be at a 90-degree angle to your swing arc. So the face has closed relative to the target line, but your face hasn't rotated an abnormal amount relative to your swing arc. That's still an inside to inside path with the face closing, so you still hit a draw with with no face rotation relative to your swing arc.
Yeah.
When I got in trouble with golf is when I started trying to weaken my grip, get the face here, hold the angle, and then twist, do this, and then twist my forearms and make the back of my left hand go that way.
When you first started taking professional lessons, were people telling you were dead shot at the top?
Well, they said I was a little shut and I had too strong a grip.
So weaken the grip and you would open the face.
And now rotate your forearms to catch the face up.
And now it's just a timing.
Well, I hit it sideways. Well, now your swing and your grip's perfect, your timing's a little off. Well, I only spent the next 25 years never hitting it as good as I hit it when I started.
Yeah, a friend of mine said, a real good teacher has said to me, if you want to make $1 million in the golf business, just advertise the timing-free golf swing, because everybody is looking for that. Everybody is looking for a swing that requires less timing.
Well, and what I've learned from the physics of how a golf swing works and all these offsetting forces that are going on, if your hands are on the club and you use these forces will time the swing for you. So it takes the least amount of effort because the forces that are around you are doing the timing for you. So it doesn't take as much practice. It's always going to take practice, but it's not going to take as much because you're not fighting these elements that are around you, and you're not having to time a twist in your hands or hold the face off. You're allowing the momentum of the club and how your body reacts to that momentum to actually stabilize and square the face without you doing much.
Yeah, you talk a lot about, in mid-downswing, you see a lot of players interrupting the momentum. Right here, and they do something to try to it's just like maybe anxiety or something is just giving them this hiccup, and they're really trying to.
Well, when people say I've got the yips or I can't hit it, okay, what I call them, I don't call them the yips, I call them the saviors.
Yeah, right.
The reason I call it the savior in putting, chipping, is because if they didn't make that move, so if let's say somebody has the club way too far behind them and the face is too far open, and they make a swing, and the ball goes like that, Okay, well, the next swing, they're not going to stand there and make the same move. So all of a sudden now, they make a swing, and they're coming down into the ball, and they get right about here, and they're, uh-oh, it's going to go over there. So what do? They go, and they all of a sudden they make an adjustment, and the ball goes better. They go, well, that's real yippy. Well, no. If they didn't do that, if they didn't make some kind of adjustment, they'd miss the ball.